So we're continuing this famous letter This letter was written in 2nd century by a very famous Buddhist monk called Nagarjuna to one of his Indian king friend. And Nagarjuna, being a great Buddhist monk, he wanted to write some Buddhist teachings in his letter to help the king. So we are going through this reading. It has a fairly lengthy letter with 123 verses. And we have gone through the first half of it, at least, a bit more than that. And the main message of this letter is to encourage people like King Gautamiputra, as well as you and me, who have some directions in their life that needs a refocusing, and therefore redirecting, reassessment of what we're doing with our time and life. And so it's so easy to miss our direction. So particularly for his friend, King Gautamiputra, who has a great power to rule over thousands of subjects, very prestigious, very powerful, very wealthy, and almost kind of erroneously comforted, thinking that his life is perfect, with great wealth and followers and power and so on. But Nagarjuna is informing what actually life is like in other sets of lives of other sentient beings. So we are currently going through a section in teaching us how to strive and put our effort to make our life meaningful, and particularly by surveying the other forms of life that are so unfortunate that we could not bear very well. But yet there are uncountable number of sentient beings who, if we are able to survey carefully, were our past lives' mothers and loved ones. So that all those sentient beings are born in many unfortunate circumstances, and there is no guarantee, however, that we will not be born in those lives. So in order to highlight that, Nagarjuna has been telling the nature of the terrible life of beings who are very angry, who do very aggressive, violent things without realizing the consequences of such behaviors will throw oneself into unfavorable life, such as hell or animals, hungry ghosts, because these are the three lowest realms. So right now we are going through the description of the beings who are born in hell. I was talking mainly last week that we should not think of these things as some far distant places when we say hell. There are hell on earth. There are hell in human life. By the very direct karma of their own creation, they are experiencing these very descriptive forms of life. So last week we finished at verse number 81. Now 82.
I thought 87, no?
That's what I thought, yeah.
Okay, it was 88 today, no?
87, good. Yeah, I get this. Yes. We finished 87.
Yes.
I wasn't quite sure, and so I was checking. Yeah. So I wouldn't go over the hell again. Just yeah. Anyway, it says very clearly that just to finish off the verse number 87, because that's quite a different section. The verse number 87 verse number 87 and 88. With 88 we are finishing the hell. The 87 actually description of the hell is finished, but where he says that even though such very unbearable sufferings, meaning such above mentioned sufferings or hell beings, is experienced for as long as billions of years, that one will never be freed from that life as long as non-virtue is not exhausted. So that is more relevant for us. We are not in hell, thank goodness. But if one's negative karma, this is talking about harmful karma, that hurts life, destroys life, and through physical violence, or from verbal violence, if people do these things, non-virtue, as long as non-virtue is not exhausted, meaning as long as we do not put a stop to the non-virtuous actions, then the suffering, the consequences of those hell-like experience will not come to an end, So they will roll over, basically. So therefore, this is a very important letter. So if a friend writes you letters like with these contents, it's very less likely any friend will write you this letter. Nagarjuna is writing to his friend king that, because those days kings, tortured, and they really exploited the subject. And they think they have power, they can punish, they can finish somebody, put to the gallows, and he's warning that if he committed this kind of non-virtuous actions, then that kind of hell cannot come to an end, because the hell is a result. But if the cause is not stopped, how could the result will stop? So therefore, while we don't want to talk about hell, we don't want to spend another night talking about hell, but we might be creating its causes. So therefore, unless we learn to stop those, particularly hatred, that people have a lot of anger and hatred towards something, as they could come good reason to be angry, Of course, if we can do something useful with the anger, I'm not saying that with some angry action cannot produce good result if the intent is good, So we are not saying people with anger is necessarily wrong, but if they do something useful with it, of course they will not cause harm, but they will try to do benefit. But usually angry actions usually cause more harm than any repairing it does. This is why all the wars. We don't have to fear hell in life. The consequence of the war in this world is like a ripple effect to everyone, So what we're talking about is this non-virtuous action. One group justifies taking action, maybe presumably to stop the other one doing wrong deeds, but they don't realize their action is just as wrong. So true wrong doesn't correct either of the things. So therefore, how can we correct something by learning to restrain non-virtuous action? That's exactly what Nagarjuna is. And he's a great Buddhist monk and realize our bodhisattva. Because he's talking about not only hell, but he's talking about cause of hell. And you don't have to believe in a rebirth to suffer this consequence. People are already suffering the hell in life. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, they became very angry about something. They're still angry. They're still not talking. They're still not going near the person or something. It's just so foolish. So that is what it's talking about, So this is quite relevant. People don't have to believe in reincarnation, particularly if you are like some of the few minority Buddhists we have who doesn't want to believe in reincarnation, but they are Buddhist, So I must tell those neo-Buddhists, new fashionable Buddhists, they want to be Buddhist but not believe in reincarnation. Sure, you don't have to go to hell because you are in it. So if you're in it, you wouldn't know you have to go anywhere, because you're probably better that you don't believe you have to go anywhere because you're already there. So lots of people's anger and kind of guilt and resentment is hell. Basically, it's like hot hell. They say the blood is clotting. Blood is clotting. Angry people. They're not, they're eating good food. They're drinking things too, but they're taking pills to have thin blood, to thin the blood or whatever. But they're thinking thoughts that will clot the blood. And they're taking the pill maybe once a day, but thinking the thought quite a lot of the time. How could poor pill will work for that? So it's completely relevant, You don't have to talk about hell in the future lives, but hell that it is now if you are breeding anger and guilt and jealousy and resentment and so on. Yeah. So that's what Nagarjuna is talking about. So non-virtue, until the non-virtue is exhausted, you are not freed from hell. You don't have to go to hell. You are there already. Very serious. So as a result of that, therefore, one should, the point is one should exhaust. One should try to exhaust. Like listening to the Dharma that you are already doing with great discipline coming here, it is a wholesome karma, isn't it? You believe in the Buddha and his teachings, you listen to it, and then try to absorb that into your life, and then you say, this is what I shouldn't be thinking. This is what I should think instead. So that's actually exactly virtuous karma, wholesome karma. This will exhaust the non-virtuous, because not only cognitively what by listening or thinking, it helps you to downscale your negative thoughts, and then that will stop the cause. If the cause is stopped, the result will not happen. So therefore, we should rejoice our time together. Because there's a lot of things you can do on Tuesday nights, but you deliberately do this instead. It's very good discipline, I mean, how can you help yourself? We know people who are so addicted to certain things, they can't sit still to do anything long. But when they're addicted to those, they just don't know how hours go. But that kind of habit, shifting to listen and read and meditate and acquaint with these concepts and teachings, is directly what you call virtuous karma that will free us. Like we are free from other things, but we are in fact listening to words and thoughts of Nagarjuna, and then trying to learn to sort of rub away our anger or negative thoughts or feelings and hurt or pain, and then try to develop kindness and compassion. These are the things. The seeds of the fruits of non-virtue are wrongdoing of the body, speech, mind. So now he's explaining what is that non-virtue that we should stop. Is that there are seeds, because non-virtue is the kind of already grown up deeds and habits that's in there. But the seed that came from seeds from which these fruits are so strongly stuck in our mind or life is because of the unskillful wrongdoing, meaning unskillful non-virtuous doing of the body, speech, and mind. So we went through those before, but any harmful use of one's physical energy, destruction of life, destruction of that very body by addiction, alcohol, violence, and gambling, and so were mentioned, as well as non-virtues of speech, such as speaking harshly, condescendingly, criticizing, causing schism, all these things verbally, and mentally thinking bad thoughts and anger and jealousy, doubt, suspicion, ill will, malice, and all these things these are the wrongdoings. Why they are wrongdoing is they bring us misery. If they are good doing, then of course we be benefited by that. But the wrongdoing doesn't need any training, So to undo wrongdoing, we have to deliberately train. So that's why we need to recognize that. Exert every strength to prevent by every means. Whatever every means by listening to the teachings. Yeah, that's one of the means. There's a listening to the teaching opens your eyes. You know, it gives the feet that people don't have. It gives the sight with which their normal naked eyes cannot see. It gives the hearing that normal ears cannot hear. It gives the wisdom that no wise person can give it to you when you listen to the teachings of the Buddha. So every means, meaning by listening to the teachings, reading the books, and then reflecting on them, they will naturally sort of change our habits. So it says you should exert every strength. Yeah, every strength. Yeah, bringing yourself all the way here, through the traffic and through the work and other commitments and all this. This is exactly what we're talking about. You know, others who are listening through the interstate, wherever you are, you should keep listening, and because you are putting that kind of effort, and not listen it casually because you can easily, but listen with deliberate attempt, because if you do it for this very sake. On Tuesday night, I listened to this through the web, through the webcast, because we deliberately got kids to that webcast, not so that people who are nearby don't come here, but those who can't come without feeling. Without being losing something because they are far, this teaching will be beamed to your place. But you must make it formal, that you just sit there as your own commitment, as people who are coming here. That is what is called here, that by every means, you make it as a formal session for yourself to sit at home and listen to the teachings. And even their smallest occurrence, you shouldn't ignore them. Oh, I know this stuff. Oh, I heard that before. Even though you do small things, don't ignore them, because but it's by small drops of water that fills the jar. And so therefore one should be very thoughtful and mindful, because with continuous drop of the water could wear out even the rock. So that's why quite a lot of us, we know that before we were very unfamiliar with even Buddha and Dharma and that sort of anything. And slowly we become more acquainted with this. We feel lots of comfort and refuge in the teachings. So by every means, even though you think your effort is not good, you didn't understand anything in that teaching, even that you should not cancel. You should rejoice. I was there. Something will sink. Something will sink. Penny will drop, so to speak. You should have it. So Nagarjuna is giving beautiful advice, because some people want to learn so quickly. They want to be perfect so quickly. Then they should learn small. The fact they're going is good. The fact they remember one concept is good. Just remembering the Nagarjuna's name is already a healing, because he's a great saint, By just thinking of his name and his writing and some of the messages will help with our consciousness. So that's why Nagarjuna is telling the king, because king is otherwise say, my life is too late to get right, I'm already a king, I've done all of this to be in power, and now I can't. It's too late. This life will be too late to be doing. There were lots of emperors like Ashoka of India, and also many in Tibet, in China. Emperors who are king, they became monk. They abdicated throne and embraced Dharma, because they realize that their life is very precious and they don't want to do this anymore, and they put a break. So by hearing these teachings, because life is so very short, you never know how much time we got left to do the same thing, and we might be bored to do the same thing. We want to do a few things we really love to do, and if you do this regularly, then you wouldn't be feeling I'll do later. You're doing something every week, so to speak, and it's good. It's good to have a routine in your month or in a week or day that you look forward to, that is quite unlike ordinary life. That is a great gift to oneself. So as by that skillful means, by every means, it takes a lot of effort. Even coming off Dharma in Australia was 40, 50 years ago, there was no Dharma to be heard. You can't find even one book Except those that are written by some travelers and who thought everything was magic and mystery in Tibet. And there was nothing sand teachings of Buddha, but they thought everything was about how to read people's mind and remember past life and so on. That's not, but now there are a lot of books, a lot of information, a lot of teachings. These all came from small efforts of many people over the years, and then we today have the opportunity. So that verse number 88 concludes the description of all the unfavorable life of hell rebirth. And hell is a bit difficult for most people of existence, because they hear about it, they get frightened, they don't like to hear it anymore. It's described and so fantastic that people don't like to hear it. Now, next section, verse number 89 onwards, 89 and 90. These two verses describe the life of our nearest neighbors. The nearest neighbors are animals, yeah? Nearest neighbors are animals, yeah? The dreadful existence of an animal, too, has multiple sufferings. So therefore, we're talking about animals that are usually referred to, those which are not human beings, but who usually are either domesticated animals or wild animals. Those who live in sea, those who live in the air, or those who live underground. Those who live in dreadful, environment and places. So that's talking dreadful existence of animals too is multiple sufferings. Those being killed. And most animals are often hunted by themselves. Among the animals, the big ones are hunting the small ones. Everyone is hunted by somebody, And not only hunted, but they get hunted. And they don't go home again. They are on the way to get some food for the young, but they themselves got killed, or the young got killed while they went to get something for the young. So that's the life of animals. And when animals got killed, it's okay, They should be killed. If there's too many, we go cull them. If there's too few, we'll keep them in jars and look at them, and we don't want them to, and they go endangered, and we keep them in the cage, So they have no words. Say, look, I don't like to stay in this cage. Please keep me where I belong. They can't. They just kick in the cage, put in the cage and the wires, and kind of artificial environment like all the zoos. Not a single animal like to stay in that place for one day, but yet their whole life is stuck in that very limited place. They're bound, they're bound. They're bound by barbed wires or fences, or by tags or whatever. These days they can't even go very far. And they're beaten. Yeah, animals are beaten. Animals are killed some for their fur, others for their bone, others for their fin. They call it shark fin soup. They call it. They just kill sharks just for the fin. And not a single animal can really live in peace, particularly those in wild, Wild. And on top of that, we have not only animals are hunted and chased by each other, devouring each other, Yeah, the devouring of each other await. They always to eat each other. They never see each other as animal. They always see as a walking food. Just like the sushi tray. In a sushi tray, you can see the walking food. It's like that. Animals are walking trays, walking food, to each other. There is no excuse you being too big. Many small will get you. Not too small, but big one will just take many of them in one sort of gulping. And those who have abandoned peace bring virtue. Yeah, those who have abandoned bring peace, bearing virtue. So we're talking about how terrible animals' life is. Firstly, the environment in which they live. They don't have even a small patch of cloth. They call control their seat or their mat or their pillow or their whatever. They don't have. They don't own anything. They claim nothing, but yet they are hunted. We human beings are exactly the opposite, isn't it? Exactly opposite. So when we talk about animals, the Nagarjuna is helping us to understand how good fortune our life is and not let this become wasted. Yet we could be creating karma to be born an animal. The cause to be born an animal is ignorance. So that's why Dharma is very useful, because Dharma empower us to not to create causes for animal rebirth or hell rebirth, or even not act like an animal, but act like we are human beings. We should be kind to each other. We should be tolerant to each other, and we should not, destroy the weak, attack the weak, or just because they are small, we shouldn't attack the weak. But yet, human beings do that a lot of time. Even as a human beings, they attack whoever look different color. And the whole world, all the problems, even though we're mechanically and materially, the world has progressed so much, and medical technology huge, but this hand does so much good. This hand destroying everything. So much progress, but in the meantime, the discrimination, all the thing we talk about in the society, of the race or culture or creed or whatever, on the basis of that, how much discrimination or suffering. So in many ways, we are in human form, but almost treating each other as worse than animals. Animals, I don't think have a resentment to same animal. But humans are even worse. And animals can't. If you and I have some skills, we will use that as our survival and progress. If animals have got nice wools or nice looks, they get 100 for that, and no one protecting them. And they give even license called duck shooting license, duck shooting season. Just for fun, of course. They think it's fun. They think you are such a great aimer. You can just go and shoot ducks. And some even give permission. Others buy guns deliberately to shoot ducks. Not because they're hungry. Just because they're ignorant that these are mothers and fathers and daughters of some other ducks. They don't realize that if someone came to attack their mother or their sister, and every autumn, what would be like? Yet human beings are the one. Authority give permission. Others go and buy. Others sell gun. Others buy a gun, and others have no time to do anything. Maybe no time to even look after their grandfather or father or mother, but they have time to shoot ducks. That is the situation we're talking here. How terrible sentient beings can be. Some die for the sake of pearls or wool. Yeah, so animals are killed just because they got a lot of wools, and some are killed for their bones, like elephant, and elephants are killed, or rhinos are killed because they have the horn, unicorn, or what do you call this? Isn't the thing? Horn, yeah, horn. Strange place to grow the horn, actually. It would be useful to kill a few of those hunters, but they can't, poor thing, So everything they have, they become cause of attraction, cause of their problems, If they're tall, they get killed. If they look fluffy, they get attacked, they get killed. So they get So skin, some get killed for the skin. If not anything, just the skin. So others, helpless ones, are exploited. Yeah, they are exploited by human beings to carry load, not just one load for 2 hours, constantly, hour after hour, like taxi. Like the taxi got like 3 people changing shift, 24 hours. It's like that. The animals exploited by the different people, different caravan people who drive them, or people who load them, or people who exploit them, and by kicking them, by whipping them, putting holes through their nose, removing their various parts of the body, making them run around a race course. They don't want to run even a little minute, but they have to go round and round for the sake of this man. And not only they are carrying the man is still whipping him. Still they run for the sake of the owner. Could not say a word. And how helpless it is to be animal. Yet the karma to be born as animal is the cause to be born of animal is doing such things to others, be they humans or animals, kicking, hitting, whipping, hooking, or prodding. So what we're talking about here is meditate on the numerousness of animals, and the few animals have some rights or some protection, like cats and dogs, or human beings seem to be a little bit of particularly those who have there's almost like if somebody abuse a dog or like that, then there will be some neighbors who will try to prevent. But other animals, no. So there is basically animals are mercilessly killed and destroyed their life. They can't sit on top of a tree for 5 minutes because dark shooters come. They have just flown from some dangerous place already, and they barely arrive there, and somebody shot at them. And then they fly from them, and then another place, and there's another one waiting. So everybody's waiting there for them to come. But yet they cannot do anything. But people say that who can tell who they were? They are not only have mothers and young ones themselves, but they could be our parents. They could be our past lives' parents, and so on. So how could anybody go and kill such animals? Yet the world, human realm, do not give a lot of concern for animals. When there are many, they say it's a pest, and they will cull. When there's a few, they'll all try to grab it and keep it as an endangered thing. And others, they deliberately breed. When they want it, they deliberately breed. When they don't want it, they kill it. When it's good, they call it pet. When it's not good, they call put it down. Put down. When animal is not so useful, they put down, no problem. Oh, it's much easier to put down because animal doesn't get asked, do you want to live with a limping leg or do you want me to put down? And then animal doesn't know. He doesn't even get to ask question, Doesn't even get asked, do you mind having a limping leg and still be in the paddy with the rest of the horses? And never, no God knows that. Even, in Buddhist culture, we don't do that. If an animal is, if your domesticated animal is unwell, you put Band-Aid or you look after them as much as your child, You don't put down a dog or horse because they are limping or they no longer can carry the load or plow the field. See, this shows suffering of animal is servitude. They're slave, basically. We lift slavery, but animals, no. Slavery of animals, not lifted. We don't see very much because we live. Our world is very, 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 very synthetic. We don't see everything. Everything's sort of far away. How the animals are suffering. So, Nagarjuna is telling us how not to create karma that can cause oneself to be reborn as animal. So, because if we treat animals or humans in a kind of a aggressive, violent, even verbally yelling at animals has karma. We don't yell to human beings, but why should we yell animals? Even animals, when you talk nicely, they know that you're being gentle to them. They wag their tails, they go like this. They know who's gentle and kind. Anyone who throws sticks at them, and then of course they don't like. But little do they can do because their life is so controlled, and they have little power over it. And like elephants, so large. My hood is so tiny, but elephants still cannot do much. Sometimes it angrily can destroy, but often it's really, really loyal. is completely doing it for the sake of the man who can make him to go to the jungle, carry these heavy loads, and not a thank you he asks. So being able to understand sentient beings in Buddhism we talk about sentient beings a lot. It's more important to talk about sentient beings than some high beings, God or somebody who's looking over our shoulder. It doesn't matter he looks, but it's better we are kind to the fellow creatures, fellow creatures. So Buddhists talk a lot about animals, particularly when we know the life of animals. Then these are not some stories. You don't have to imagine or believe. Oh, they live in such a place called hell or hungry ghosts. You can actually see them. They got nothing to eat, but still on the. There's hardly anything on the ground. You cannot see a green grass, but they're still. Yeah, it's just you can see the body is getting weaker because they couldn't get anything, Yeah, and they can't do nothing. Yeah, and with human beings, of course, if there's some poverty, we ring each other. We have numbers to ring. They'll bring food. We have all kind of organization go and do, And those who are only generous to animals, they're actually breeding them. They have trucks of wheat, and then they drop the wheat in Australian farms. The truck is driving slowly, wheat is falling here. Why are they so generous? So that they can breed the cattle, breed the sheep, not because they look after the animals, not because they're kind to the animals. So this shows that how easy it is to misunderstand life. Some religious tradition even say that animals are created for us, and so on. And of course, it's very difficult to live. And generally speaking, but particularly when it comes to how we treat each other, and particularly helpless sentient beings. So that's why the idea of suffering, understanding suffering of sentient beings, makes us a little bit more skillful. Remember the verse before the verse said that you should use by every means that teaches you to become careful. And when you understand animal, this got a mother as well, this got a young as well, then we understand. No. So that finishes the suffering of animals, because animals are reincarnation of someone. They were not animals in the previous life. It's possible they were, but that they say usually animals are rebirth of humans. Humans who didn't behave themselves very well are born as animals, and so those who are born from human to animals are many. Born from animals to humans, very few. So in any case, what this reason is that when we see animals, we shouldn't see them as someone weak and helpless. We should see them as someone who is also just like one of us in a different form of karma. And when you know that, and then we become much more compassionate to them, and then we become a lot more careful how not to exploit and cause harm to them. So that finishes the 2 verses on the animals. Of course, there are many types of animals. Now, this next, verse number 91 moves to 91 till 97. These 7 verses are dedicated for the hungry ghost. Now, this hungry ghost is a little difficult to believe, but nevertheless, they exist. Some with the needle-eye mouths, with stomach the size of mountains, are tortured by hunger but unable to eat even the smallest quantity of discarded filth. This is talking about the hungry ghosts. The beings why are beings born like this? Are these people, people mainly, people who are very small-eyed, means very stingy. They don't give anything. They want always to get something, and they are so greedy and so ungenerous, And even what they have, they never have satisfaction. So they are born as a karma of that, as a karma of not having contentment and not having practiced generosity, not even dare to use for themselves, let alone give others. And they are born with huge stomachs, and tiny eyes, but has great craving, bigger than the belly, and looking for food. And they are born in a place that's completely like desert. There's not a single cool shade place. It's like a hot burning earth, like a desert, and which is called the environment itself a desert. Body is such disproportionate size of big stomach and small eye and small mouth rather, tiny mouth. Firstly they couldn't find anything. Because it's everything turns. But there are two types of hungry ghosts: externally distorted ones, internally distorted ones. Externally distorted ones, they're actually so hungry and thirsty with a big stomach and so forth, and they can't find any food because they think they cannot stop thinking of food. And food, they think very much. Whatever they think, they couldn't get everything. So they look so hard when they see the big mountain of food or pile of food there. Then they try so hard to get there. When they finally get there, the food disappeared. Food disappeared. There's no food whatsoever. There's no trace of food whatsoever. So it's like a person who is greedy. They don't see what they have. They don't see they have. They don't know what they already have. They don't know the kindness of people that they still complain that you haven't done this to me, you haven't done this to me. That's the direct cause of hungry ghost. You don't have to become hungry ghost. We're already a hungry ghost. If one is thinking like that. Some people are very unappreciative of their parents or loved ones or friend. Whatever they did, never good enough. So it's like hungry ghosts because they can't see. They can't see anything. They say if you bring a hungry ghost to a sea, next to a river, the river also become dry, become desert. So he's got a funny eye. He can dry up rivers. All the plants become withered, and all the luxurious things become all deserted. It's just like a person who has many things but never see them, probably hiding them, probably hiding down the cellar or somewhere. And in the reality, they very, very mean and then don't do too much. Some people like that, Actually, they are not so ungenerous even to themselves, let alone to their other friends, So controlling, still greedy, still want more and more. So these are the direct cause of hungry ghost. Right now, this life, their belly may not be that big, mouth may not be that small, but they are definitely tortured by this neediness. Poor me. Poor me, I haven't got this. I haven't got this. This isn't good enough. I have to have that. Why don't I have that? That is the kind of perpetual hungry ghost mentality. Slowly it becomes, unable to eat. Yeah, when you're hungry ghost, unable to eat. When you have, you can't dare not to use. It's worse. When you have, you don't know to use yourself or give it to others. That's worse than hungry ghost. At least hungry ghost got nothing to use. So direct karma, direct result of not daring to use for oneself or share with others is to be born as hungry ghosts. And even smallest quantity of discarded food they can't eat. Firstly, the mouth is so tiny. Wouldn't fit, Even the smallest food wouldn't go through the hole. The mouth is so tiny like a needle hole. Secondly, the throat is very tiny. They say then they become internally distorted. Whatever goes in the throat, it burns. It becomes flame. It burns the tiny throat, and flames comes out of the nose and the mouth. So then they regret they ate it because they didn't realize it will turn to fire. So it's like people who are like a hungry ghost mentality. They get something, somebody does something, but they still don't enjoy it. They still want more, so they can't enjoy it. In the meantime, what they have, they want so much, they don't see what they already have. So it's a psychology of hungry ghost mentality. It says that some are naked are mere skin and bones. Your body is so emaciated, so weak, and like the dried up top of a palm tree, you know. Yeah, palm tree is completely dry, you know, like that. Their body is completely emaciated. Others have mouth which blaze at night for food they eat. Yes, I will mention. As soon as they eat, they burn, they incinerate. But yet they can't. Then they collapse and then become conscious again. They want more, same thing, you know. And every time they eat, it burns everything, and then they collapse. Yeah. Sand which falls into their mouth. So it looks like they have, because they are in a desert, that they have dust storm coming from everywhere, and they think they're food, and when they eat, and then they become flames. So severely, several lowly classes cannot find, and there are 36 kinds of hungry ghosts. So most of hungry ghosts are. There's 36 types. Among the 36 of types hungry ghosts, quite a lot of people are who recently died and could not let go of the world they lived because they're so attached to the world. They never knew it was an illusion and impermanent and transitory. They thought they would have a lot of time to use when they become whenever. But in the meantime, they dare not to use. So when they die, all of a sudden, basically, they didn't expect to die, you know, and they dare not to use when they were young or old or even whatever. So they hoard and hoard and hoard. As soon as they die, it comes as a shock, and they don't even know they're dead, and they become ghosts. And they keep looking for their belongings, possessions. That's how they become hungry ghosts. Hungry ghosts are people who were greedy, born instantly, basically. As soon as they die, they become hungry ghosts. So that's why practicing, using things skillfully, share things, give to the poor, give to the needy, repay the kindness of the parents and elderly and the good friends and others who need. These will not cause hungry ghost rebirth. This is exactly opposite of it. So that's why one who knows about the hungry ghost, it enables us to know, the cause of hungry ghosts is miserliness, stinginess, greediness. So then we look within ourselves, you know, how much of our own present sufferings comes from greediness. We don't even dare to use anything. We don't give things. We do, but only because we want something else in return. So that's even worse. That's like fishing. You want to catch the fish and give a worm. So this miserable karma, isn't it? You first kill a worm and give to the fish to catch another fish. I mean, what would be the consequence of that? Oneself will die in tragedy. It's often the case, you know. Why those fishermen and the rock catching fish get pulled into the water? It's instant karma. Instant karma. So therefore, fishing in name of recreation is a bad karma. It's a bad hobby. So because these are mothers, these are daughters, these are sisters, these are uncles, these are fish. They're there. They have young to feed. They're just fish. They're just swimming to look for food so that they can look after the. You know, they have a lot of young to look after. They are not some people, going on a kind of a tour or something. And they're just looking frantically to look after their young. So, several lowly classes cannot find even such filth as pus, excrement, blood, or the like. They attach one another, eating pus from festered goiters growing in the throat. Yeah, so because they have so much suffering, and because each of the goiters represent clingings, graspings, packets of clingings, you know, and they all get infected, and then because they're so hungry, they eat each other, you know. And if they can find a little liquid oozing from someone's sort of burst boil, they'll be happy because they can't find anything in the dust, and then. Of course, that's not tasty, if you like, and yet they have nothing, you know. They have nothing but but go doing that to each other in a day and day in and day out. Yet their life is very long. Their body is very delicate. In the summer, even the moon feels hot to them. In the summer, there's no time, no relief, even for a moment. If we have a relief and a cool breeze comes, we're good. We can put the fan on when it's hot. For them, even the moon becomes hot. In the winter, even the sun feels cold. Just karmically speaking, yeah. They have no solar power. They have no electric blanket in the cold in the hungry ghost realm. At the mere glance, trees become fruitless, rivers become dry. They go look for food, fruit, and drink. From far you can see, but when they get there, the trees have dried or disappeared totally, or rivers have actually dried up. There are stories about Tibetan monk meditators meditating out of great compassion for beings like hungry ghosts, and then they meditate in themselves in a desert, and their belly being so big, and such a very weak limbs and thin throat, and even smaller eyes, and hungry as ever, and looking, and then he just imagined meditation. So the meditator got realization as a hungry ghost. He felt so hungry that everything he looks, is trying to drink, it becomes a rock or something. So then he was taken next to a river to meditate. And when he really got into meditation, hungry goes, there is no river. There's no river. The river disappeared. River disappeared. He couldn't see the river because mind is so powerful. And then, as a hungry ghost, he traveled hither and thither looking for food and so forth. And after a while, then he came out of meditation. Then when he came out of meditation, he couldn't find his robe and his bowls and things like that, because it's on the other side of the river. Then he came back to his human reality, but he's a human, but he couldn't find his bowls and other possessions because that was on the other side of the river. He'd been going and didn't even feel he was going. So the mind is so powerful, So that's why the people who meditate like that then feels what's like to be suffering. Like people go to some third world countries, they land in Calcutta or Nairobi or somewhere. They don't want to look. They say, I want to go back to Australia. They can't dare looking. These people actually live there every day like that. Most of the world cities are like that. Most of the world cities, Some are just a little bit different in the developed countries. Most of the large cities, you have more poverty and so on. Shanty towns where people living. It's just unbearable. Even look at it. Now, these are human beings living like hungry ghosts, scavenging in a big pile of rubbish dump. You see them in Manila, you see them in Hanoi, you see them in Jakarta, you see them in Calcutta, you can see them probably in Australia as well, even in Magallanes dump, and there's some people doing that. Not too hard, but because lots of people got lots of good things they throw there, so when you look at that, So beings have to spend their day and week and month, the whole life in that, yet their karma is so heavy they don't die. And human beings are so fortunate, but they don't live long. and hungry ghost beings live very long, They don't dare die. They don't die. Their suffering is so emaciatingly long, and yet they cannot die. Experiencing unhindered, suffering, there's nothing can stop the suffering coming to them, and tightly bound by the karmic fetters of misdeeds. What is the karmic fetters of misdeeds? Is miserliness, is stinginess, is possessiveness. Even we still want to control. What did you do with what I gave you? What did you do with what I gave you? And some do not die for 5 or even 10,000 years. Their life is so long. So And remember, if things are miserable, even if it's a day, it looks very long, isn't it, for us? Even one human day is very long. If you have to wait or miss a plane or something, you feel very dull. Just a missed plane, we feel very impatient. How would be like their life to be like that always? When it's suffering, even a short time looks much longer, isn't it? So therefore, imagine if that's for 10,000 years. Yet the karma is so heavy, they cannot die. This is so heavy, the karma. The cause of each single taste of preta's multitude of suffering is beings' delight in stinginess. Yeah, now Nagarjuna is saying, what is the cause of this suffering of hungry ghosts? Stinginess. The Buddha declared miserliness to be ignoble. Yeah, so therefore, one thing is having things. If people put a lot of effort, it's already suffering to get something. But to not daring to use it, it's even more suffering. Become cause of suffering, become cause of miserliness and stinginess. And even miserly people have already got things. When they got things, even causally when they got things, came out of argument, fighting, court case, they win. They think they can enjoy that. Now, people out of greed, they take brothers to a court, sisters to court, uncles to court, just for a miserable amount, but they spend more to pay for the lawyer. So stupid, isn't it? That is called hungry ghost in human court. Hungry ghost in court. So it's very important to... So one thing is not having something. Another thing is having and not using for oneself or sharing it to somebody and then become cause of suffering. So Buddha taught beings to practice dana to your friend, to your mother, to your uncle, to your elderly, to your neighbor, to the poor one you see on the road or somewhere. And you just practice random kindness and generosity. Then even phantom-like material possession have useful function. Miracle, it can really make you happy. As soon as you give, you're happy. Is it keeping? It's not happy. It's a misery. What will happen to this? What will happen? As soon as you give, it becomes a cause. It can do things that it wasn't doing in your possession. So that's why. So to material possession is for the purpose of shifting from hand to hand. More it travels from hand to hand, that many it distribute benefit. If it stay in one person's hand, then it becomes a cause of suffering. You have this thing called G20. G20 is greedy 20. G20 is greedy 20, no? Greedy 20. This G20 has the most richest wealth, and some of the biggest social problems are in G20. Other countries may have just maybe poverty, malnutrition, lack of education, just kind of basic problems like that. But not out of possessiveness, not out of greed, and so on. So we're talking about how the present wealth or possessions not being using for each other is cause of not only misery now. We'll be treated by other people also. Other people will also say how greedy, how ungenerous that person is. And even friends wouldn't like the person. He might have wealth, but he doesn't have friend who will like them or work with them or be kind to them, because he's not. And so he might have lots of wealth, but he's lonely. He got no one who actually can. So therefore, his wealth is cause of wealth of misery. So more the wealth, more the suffering. Yet human beings don't know. They are become slave to wealth, not instead of being master. Master of the wealth is one who has power to give, practice the joy of giving. They don't call it joy of keeping. They call it joy of giving, But those who don't know this, which is of course quite a majority, by the way, he says Buddha declared that stinginess is to be ignoble. It's just ignorant. It's just like getting a lot of things and tie on your neck and until your neck is gone like this, and you can't take it off and give it to some people who need more. need more than us as a sentient being. So that concludes the suffering sentient beings of hungry ghosts. So hungry ghosts, usually the people who die for 49 days, they stay in hungry ghost, but they always come. They have a hope. When after the 49 days, if you do a lot of virtuous things, wholesome things in the name of the deceased, maybe do charity in the name of the deceased, maybe do good deeds in the name of the deceased, because the spirit will benefit, because you think of them. And if after 49 days, then their life will be decided to be born. And some are born as hungry ghosts, because the greed and attachment to this world is so big, and they are probably born hungry ghosts nearby where their possessions are, and families and friends, whoever inherit them, wouldn't have much happiness, because this unhappy spirit is looking over your shoulder. And it's usually a lot of illness, a lot of disease, a lot of conflicts, a lot of fighting follows wherever there is such kind of inheritance that are not used skillfully, but more greedily kept for oneself. So that's why in Buddhist culture, the 49 days, and maybe within the first year, at least within the 49 days, very important. After that, within that first year, you try to do as much virtue as possible from the wealth, if possible, of the deceased, if not even yours. You do it because you have some karmic debt to owe to this person, maybe to your parent or someone. If you do that, then that will help to release the consciousness from becoming hungry ghosts, because you're at least helping the spirit to know that we love them and we want them to move rather than stuck. So that's why all these prayers, and after somebody dies, 49 days minimum, some whole year, they will do pilgrimage, they will do various things in the name of the deceased, because it's their father or it's the mother or someone very special, and you can't have a second father. You can't, they're not replaceable. So people do as much as they can repay their kindness. And this is why Buddhist teachings, people understand so many different lives so well that they know where did the deceased person go? His spirit, his consciousness. What would his karma do? What choice does he have? Can we help him? It's like someone in your friend is maybe lost or somewhere in jungle or somewhere in other countries. If you know they are there, you will do anything to help them, to get out or whatever. No, our parents or family who died, they disappeared from this body, but they didn't disappear from this earth. They're still around. They're still there hovering as a spirit. So therefore prayers are very good. People, even they're alive, they say, please think of me in a prayer. Of course, the deceased, of course, they will be even more needy of the prayers. So that's why the tradition of doing prayers, it's not that you are Buddhist or not, but you feel actually need, if you feel the need to do something. Someone's so close to you died, and you owe so much to them, and yet they died. And what would they be like? And can I do something? And believe in that is so powerful. It makes us to do good, makes us to do generous. So then we practice generosity, at least when somebody dies. Some big things happen, then we start practicing. I too be dead like that one day, so I might as well do some good while I can. And then, people don't learn until something hard thing happens to them. So that's why talking about life, many unfortunate lives like animals, hungry ghosts, and hells, and many unfortunate human beings in this earth and elsewhere whose life is many times much more unpleasant than our lives are. And then when we try to practice these kind of qualities, and then it empowers us to do some good good while our life permits. We have the freedom, we have intelligence. And we know the Dharma, and we know the way. We know it doesn't have to be Dharma, but it could be just a basic humane thing to do, in resolving problems or conflicts or problem with somebody. Just practice kindness, forgive them, and don't dwell on it about that. Don't be so resentful like hell being. Don't be so mean like a hungry ghost. Don't be ignorant like animals to each other. So basically, these three lower realms, this hell is caused by hatred, hungry ghost is caused by greed and stinginess, and animals caused by ignorance. So there are three poisons. So therefore, one learns how to avoid the causes by learning to turn towards the light, the Dharma. So that concludes the hungry ghost, 97. Now, next three words, 98, 99, next four verses are all about God realms. These God realms are beings. Most people like to believe in those God as being powerful. Yeah, their life is amazingly pleasant and unimaginably good. But, so it says here, greater than celestial beings' pleasure is their suffering than when passing away. Having considered that, the righteous should not crave for transitory celestial realms. The celestial realm are God realms, are heavens. Lots of people believe in heavens. The heavens, what all the religious traditions which we pray to be born, is what Buddhism called God realm. Some peasant Buddhists also pray to be born in heaven. Yeah, but these are transitory celestial realms. There are three types of celestial realms. It's called desire realm, celestial realm, form realm, and formless realm. They're all gods. They're all celestial. And their life is actually amazingly beautiful, unimaginable, So they don't have to do anything. They get everything what they want, and they have very long life. But then slowly, and they exhaust their merit. The more they indulge in that perfect kind of ideal kind of situation, they think they're enlightened. Like most people think the gods are enlightened. They're not enlightened. They just happen to have a little bit more comfortable life. But actually, that comfort they have, that pleasure they have, will elapse, will run out. And when that run out, then they have untold miseries. It says, greater than celestial beings' pleasure is their suffering. Their suffering is far greater when they have contaminated clairvoyance. They have some signs of death. They say the body's complexion turns unattractive. Otherwise, all the gods are very beautiful, attractive. You can call God and goddesses. They're all beautiful. They all are beautiful. In God realm, nobody have deformities. Nobody have birthmarks. Nobody is short, or nobody is too tall, or nobody too fat, or anything. Everybody got perfect form. But when each of the individual God realms' life elapses, their life, their body, they have 1 week before they die. Then they know they're dying, they're going to die. Otherwise, they don't know they'll die because they think they're all God, They were, but for only for a little while. It's like, say, you can only spend 5 days in heaven, Then after that, you have to come back. It's like that. So their life is like heaven, but all of a sudden, they know that it's not heaven anymore. And then they lose faith. They thought they were enlightened. They thought they were beyond rebirth and death. And they had been believing all this time. All of a sudden, and like say, if I'm the God, and we are all gods, I'm the only one who will experience this. Body's complexion turn attractive. Nobody is telling me that I'm getting very old or dying. But I just see that everybody's ignoring me, And then I don't like my skins or they're all looking very, very ugly. And their seats are usually immaculately clean. Everything what they have is perfect, and it looks like somebody does them every new. But no, always. But now their seats get, soiled or smelly, or they don't like their seat. Their bodies have an odor, or they have beautiful garlands they wear on their neck. They all wilt, Otherwise they'd be wearing those beautiful garlands, never wilt. They all evergreen, so to speak, ever fresh. But the one who is going to experience the death in 1 week's time, their 1 week's time is thousands of years, human. Their 1 week is very long, So garlands, wills, clothing assumes an order. Yeah, their clothes then start having smell. The body is soiled and as never before. So these are some of the premonitory signs. There's the early signs of their death. And then they feel ignored. Everybody's neglecting them, ignoring them. And then they say, what happened to me? They think they were God. But they said, oh, my karma exhausted. They said they lose faith in law of karma. They said they thought they were enlightened. They thought they were God. They thought they were not subject to death. Yet they can foretell they will die. Not only that, where they be going to be born. Where they're going to be born is in the hells, in animals, in hungry ghosts, and not many gods are reborn as a god again, by the way. Most gods go straight down. It's easy to go down than up, particularly if you're up there already. So these are the 5 premonitory signs attending death in the celestial realm. So the person who is going to experience death knows, but nobody knows. But he projects everybody's ignoring him. And then he really thinks he's the only one who suffered. He doesn't know the previous gods also died like this, and he doesn't know that. He loses faith in law of karma. And then he exhausts all the leftover merit, and with that hatred, and then they rise for gods in a manner similar to signs of death attending humans on earth who are about to die. So just like human beings experience signs of old age and death, and the animals also, the gods, other realm beings also go through this experience. Their passing away from the celestial realms is, if there is no remaining virtue, which means if probably is a generous one, there is no remaining virtues. Because if there is any remaining virtue, it will be destroyed by the sudden loss of faith and law of karma. And one will helpless enter the state of an animal, preta, or hell being. So that's why in Buddhism we don't speak highly of God. And we don't say them they are creator. And it's just like you can't praise what is not worthy of praise. So instead we read these kind of descriptions. But if you really see that description, when their life is God without these signs, they are perfect, by the way. So it's not, and that's what most people feel tempted to pray to be born in heaven. And so in Buddhism, for beginners, people want to be born in higher realms. They pray, they do these things, do that, so that they have a good rebirth. They think good rebirth is God or humans. I mean, yes, human maybe, but still, not every human being is born in precious human rebirth. By definition, any rebirth is another problem. So any rebirth is another problem. So after passing away from these, they have no choice. They have no choice. So these verses talks about that. No matter how long your life is as a God realm, so people who are born as a God, that's the whole thing. These people who do a lot of virtue, a lot of good in this plane, by the way, a lot of good in human realm, a lot of good, but with strong. The only intent is for themselves, the recognition, the compliment, and so on. They do a lot of good deeds, So they are really decent people. And most decent people, I think every average Buddhist and Catholics are already born there. Every average good people, basically, believers all go to God realms. But people why Buddhism talks about, that warns about the danger of going to God, is that therefore, if you don't have wisdom, no matter what good you do, whether it's generosity, even morality, even patience, even diligence, whatever you do without realizing emptiness of self, and then creates a cause to be born in a God realm. So that's why teaching on emptiness, even though it's hard sometimes to understand and appreciate it, are taught with great earnest in Buddhism. It's always Dalai Lama say, all these other things that everybody teaches them. So he says, I must talk about dependent origination and emptiness, because this is the unique thing the Buddhism specializes. Others all tells there's hell and heaven and do good, and yeah, a lot of people are doing that, but still with a lot of clinging and grasping. So all this clinging and grasping, but doing a lot of good deeds, unimaginable good. Each and every people this in the world, all the good people who do, their heart is so good, their deeds are so generous, but their mind is clinging for some outcome for themselves. So this self-grasping is cause of rebirth, particularly in generally all samsara, and particularly in the God realm. Why you are born in God realm? Because you did do a lot of good deeds, you know. So all the generosity, all the morality are all good deeds. They all will be rewarded with perfect bodies, with perfect wealth and everything. But with the clinging to I and me, which is very hard not to do for most beings, because they have to have a lot of understanding of emptiness to digest the teaching of emptiness. And when they don't have this, and then all the people, majority of the people do a lot of good deeds, but only to make them to be born in heaven, because that's what they're all praying. They're all praying to be born in heaven. And they're risking all sorts of things to be a good this or good that, out of grasping. And they are born in God realms, unfortunately. And there is no sign saying wrong way. So Buddhist teaching is telling that whole samsara is full of suffering. There's no point, doing good deeds to seek another rebirth if you're going to come in the samsara out of that grasping to self. This book also shows slowly that Nagarjuna organizes the sequence in which he introduced this teaching is talking about these things in order to warn us not to do good deeds for the sake of being good. Yeah. Because lots of people want to be good, who want to be bad? Nobody wants to be bad, they want to be good. But the good without wisdom is a trap. So that's why emptiness, all the Tibetan Buddhist Mahayana, not just Tibetan, all the Mahayana Buddhist teachings, and also Theravada teachings as well, they don't talk a lot about the emptiness. They will in some time, but first they really put you to you got to do this. Do this. And it's like any other religious kind of teaching. Do this so that you have good merit, good karma. But merit and karma is taboo word if you really look in the wisdom. It's merit and karma for whom? So self again. So that is the cause of rebirth in a higher rebirth even. So why we wanted to deliberately create karma and merit to be born as a God realm, where you will exhaust and waste all karma, and then you have nothing, no merit left, and then fall back into hell again. And so what would be the chance? So that's why this emphasis of the warning about the various realms of existence in Buddhism is very important. It talks about samsara. If you don't know the samsara as an entire realm, and how mind creates causes to be born, to become those things, the becomings we're talking about. We might be psychologically we might be in this body. We are human beings. We all call it human beings. I don't know what animals call us, but at least we think we are humans. But our mind could be psychologically very, very hungry ghost-like sometimes. And a lot of time you can see everybody, with a very few exceptions, everybody want to be God. They want to be good. They want to be good for themselves. So that is the cause of rebirth in a God realm. This is the problem of it. So that's why when you truly embrace the practices of emptiness, what they call method and wisdom, there are lots of teaching give the method, but no wisdom. So therefore, method and wisdom is not one before and one after. They should go hand in hand. So that's why we need to develop wisdom, whatever we do. Not just for the sake of good, becoming good, to look good on the outside, but for the sake of liberating clinging and grasping for oneself. So, so now move to demigod realm. Demigods, word demi means semi, really semi. They're just God, but not quite good as God. I don't know why you have to be good. God is bad enough. Why are demigods? Demigods too have great mental suffering. They got a lot of mental. These are jealous gods. We call them jealous gods. The gods themselves are not jealous. Why they are God, Only the last 1 week of their life, then they slip. It's just like complete failure of their. Then everything becomes God. The demigods are constantly jealous. Demigods too have great mental suffering through their natural hostility to the God's glory. It is said that the demigods find a beautiful tree growing in their land, and then they say, well, how tall is it? The tree grows so high, all the beautiful, leaves and flowers and fruits in the God realm. It's like you having a nice tree growing in your yard, and these people in the 10th floor are picking the floors. So you got plenty of things in your pantry and cupboard, but you could not enjoy them. You keep thinking of all the people in the 10th floor picking your fruit. So jealousy is a very easy thing to do. So yeah, though intelligent, they cannot see the truth. Yeah, they cannot see the truth. They have things just as much as they God have, but they cannot enjoy them. They think, why they're picking our fruit? And then they feel justified to wage war to the God. See, due to the obscuration of their state of being, and so what the demigods keep doing. Demigods now wage war to God for picking up all the flowers and fruits that is growing on their land. And they can't tolerate the how all of the harvest is picked up by the God. But actually, God doesn't pick any of the flowers, but they just project. They just see. They see all those 10th floor people. Look, they are picking. Yes, yeah. I think they're picking. Yeah, lights on. Yeah, he keeps seeing things. There's a jealous God. Jealous people see things that are not happening. They just imagine and they can see them. So when you're jealous, you see them, even without thinking they are happening, and you completely believe your delusion. And so you never have happiness with what you have. When you're jealous, it's so mentally very, very stagnating. It doesn't allow us to rejoice what we have. It keeps making us think why he's like that, why they are like that, and things like that. In the meantime, one doesn't enjoy even some of the best things one has. So what does this talk about is how we as a human being, if our jealousy is not contained or restrained by contentment and rejoicing, we are actually creating causes already of demigods. And so therefore, one who knows they are not jealous gods now, but they could be jealous human beings, and therefore they couldn't rejoice two people's friendship because they're jealous. They are friends. And instead of good to see when we do prayers, maybe we offer prayers so people are friendly towards each other. But when they're friendly, we don't like it. So what's the point of the prayer? We pray the world be peaceful and harmonious, and when people are harmonious, we're jealous. So no point praying. So we should be happy that if people are harmonious or wealthy or intelligent, we should rejoice. Oh, it's so good that, and then we become just as happy as they are, and that's very, very productive. But instead, we give rise to jealousy. That's what the Nagarjuna's letter is. Because a lot of the kings, very jealous of the next door neighbor. They want their hill, their mountains, their lake, or their river, or whatever. And they don't hesitate waging wars to get their land, give their river, get their harbor, and so on. Isn't it? So all the wars were waged because of the jealousy. Say, oh, that's a nice port. We should have that. Oh, can we have for 100 years? Yes, you can have 100 years. Yeah. Hong Kong was like that. Yeah. Hong Kong was British couldn't totally take. Then they were so jealous, flew all the way from England to get Hong Kong. And they couldn't get the whole year, but whatever the year, until 2007 or whatever, at least they honored the agreement, which is really good. So jealous, Even its country or people, they don't realize how they can't appreciate their beautiful harbor they have. They already got harbors. The whole place is a harbor. And like that, that's just an example, And I'm not pulling the legs of people who have English roots, I have very strong English roots. Otherwise, I wouldn't be speaking English. Yeah, so demigods. We have so much demigods in us, Not just hungry ghosts. We couldn't make our mind what we will become. You can see the possibility are infinite for us to. Chances of becoming human again is probably very slim. But when we practice Dharma, we now learn to contain, this is jealous God's mentality, this is a hungry ghost mentality, this is a hell being mentality. I should contain these things, instead practice rejoicing and not equanimity and not jealousy and so on. So therefore, the verse number 103 goes to reiterate the point. Samsara being so, means he has now explained all the 6 realms of existence, human realms, animal realms, hungry ghosts and ghost, hell beings and gods and demigods. So basically there's all the samsara has been now explained very well. Samsara being so, meaning so unsatisfactory. So like a burning pit of fire. You can't put a feet safe anywhere because everywhere is burning, So samsara being so, so don't think that samsara is such a beautiful place, I don't want to die type of thing. There is no favorable birth. There's no favorable birth of any kind. This is exactly the point. So therefore try to stop birth if possible. So that's what is his main point. Whether among gods, you saw them, their life was so good, but then at the last leg of their life, everything turned sour. Even in human beings, you do so much, you succeed so much, and then after that, you lose everything. You can't even enjoy. You have so much, but you can't enjoy nothing. Because your senses are weak, you can't say or do the things you are now, know what you can do. You have more than what you did, but you have less opportunity to use. And so then lots of people suffer due to the suffering of human beings. Hell beings, hungry ghosts, animals, we already know. Birth should be known as the vessel of much harm. Yeah, all harm is caused by birth. And what was birth caused by? Birth is caused by karma, action. What is action caused by? Affliction. Yeah. And what's caused affliction? Affliction is caused by ignorance. So Nagarjuna is weaving the teaching to teach us. Teach means show us. We should be mindful how we spend our day, how we spend our week, how we spend our weekend, and do something useful to divert our mind from going into the direction of some negative habits or some kind. Most misery is made at home. Most misery made in mind, deluded mind. It's not because of lack of food or clothes. If you have lack of food or clothes, you call them, someone will deliver food to you. It's not the lack of food. It's a lack of wisdom, lack of awareness that beings are suffering. And when the mind is very empty, not looking at things, and very, very hollow and childish, and then it finds a lot of time, too much time for misery. When one is studying and listening and contemplating, meditating, and training your mind, you are actually then learning how to not to cause birth. You know, we're not talking about birth when we die. There's a lot of birth of hungry ghosts. All of a sudden, a person is very, very jealous. All of a sudden, very angry. See, hungry in human form, but angry gods. So basically, it's a psychology. You got to watch what kind of mentality we allow our mind to become, because it's a psychology. Body is human being, but mind itself is a hungry ghost or jealous gods. Looks like person hasn't got anything. He can't see anything. He keep worrying about the top of the tree. Can't enjoy anything what he has. That's like we realizing we are becoming hungry ghosts. But instead we rejoicing everything. We feel so grateful for everything what we have. And then you're sitting like that. Your mind is now slowly excluding the afflictions. You know, you have the wisdom to exclude the afflictions coming into your mind. Bacteria, like you can exclude those bacteria through meditation, through prayer, through study. You know how to actually exclude your mind. You know that we call nuclear-free zone. Meditation is affliction-free zone. Try to anyway. Try it. It just depends how well equipped you are. You have to have a few gadgets, the bell and the orgy, and the sadhanas and teachings all around, pictures and Buddhas. And every looking at that, you try to exclude this negativism coming into, registering into your mind. See, these are the aids. These are manifestation, and these are artistic dharma. We call visual dharma. It's good to have Buddhas, Bodhisattvas in your room like that. It makes us feel, because if you have crazy people jumping up and down like that, photos, some people got very funny things in their living room. You can see what their mind is up to. So, we are so easily influenced by the type of environment we have, So we always visualize Buddhas and Bodhisattvas before us. And we put... So sometimes the Buddhist tankas are also like that, very wrathful Buddhas, telling us there's a lot of anger and a lot of ferocity in us, tells that we have to conquer them, long teeth and like this. Because peaceful people don't have wrathful Buddhas. Some people have realized they are really wrathful. They don't know what to overcome, so they need those things. They need to overcome that in them. So we need to gather the gadgets and aids and paraphernalia and whatever appropriate, because they say our environment is like what our main interest is. If your interest is spiritual growth, you need to have such reminders. These are reminders. Buddha images are reminders. These are reminders. We forget so easily. So that's why it is important So therefore, it says. With verse number 104, we'll finish. Even if one's head or clothing suddenly catches fire, which will be a tragedy, forego extinguishing it. Don't worry about extinguishing the fire. Rather exert oneself in putting an end to rebirth. No aim is more excellent than this. So therefore, meaning that this is concluding the section on the description of whole realms of existence, because we were talking, this is still chapter on developing wisdom. Yeah. So Nagarjuna, instead of going straight into teaching on emptiness, he went on to going into the causes of lack of wisdom. Causes of lack of wisdom makes us unconsciously to create, perpetuate. Samsara means perpetuation. Perpetuation. Tibetan word korwa means cycling, going round and round, round. It's a vicious cycle. So that's perpetually turning again and again. So habits of those nature, whether it's in the thoughts or in attitudes, we need to change. When we're listening to the teaching, we're reading the teaching, we're stopping those thoughts. And we're listening, and as a result of that, we pay heed to this Nagarjuna's letter. This is a letter that is to all people. To that is this longest read letter. And how many times a letter is read? Usually to the person, he reads it, he keeps in a drawer, and that's it. But this is not a letter to Gautamiputra only. This is a letter to every one of us. And this has been read many times, but it captures all the teachings in a beautifully succinct words and verses. And he's painted this picture as how one should learn to consider not extinguish fire burning your hair, but stop the rebirth, stop the cause of throwing us to be reborn in any of those unfavorable rebirths. All forms of lives are unfavorable. He hasn't said any life is worth having except precious human rebirth, which we already have, which is a very positive note, because we already have the best of all lives, and now we are standing in the middle of a juncture. Is a kind of a very, very important sort of demarcation. Whether we go up or down, we are in a right decision place. This is a place, crossroad. We are at a crossroad, and others couldn't reach at the crossroad. The crossroad is very, very small, small area who can be there. And being there, therefore, do not waste time, in solving small problems like extinguishing, try to extinguish the fire burning your clothes. That's what Milarepa did, When the wind was blowing his robe, he said, you can have it. He said, you can have it. He first grabbed the robe because he had realized he's got a lot of grasping. He couldn't believe he's got so much grasping, and then he let the robe go, be blown away the wind. Because he rather practiced Dharma. So clinging will be recognized very clearly when we heed to these verses, that we strive. It hearkens us to it makes us to so much pay attention to strive. And so what does it mean is we have to always be mindful of our thoughts. Am I angry? Am I jealous? Am I doubtful? Am I suspicious? Am I not thankful? When you have those thoughts, you should just try to be aware of those thoughts. This is hungry ghost breathing here. Just try to breathe in. Think generous. Think thankful. Feel compassion, and rejoice. And think of impermanence. Think of death, and you start thinking like that. Then you don't give yourself time to well in those feelings, because these are kind of mentality, animal and hungry ghosts and hell-being instincts. Like in talking about, even we do need some basic comforts for food, clothes, shelter, and medicine. These things are totally allowed by Buddha, just for the survival. Anything excessive more than that, if one goes great length to the neglect of our spiritual growth, then definitely we must remember, why did I listen to the teaching? And so how can I make my life meaningful? Because I was told that my life is precious, but I was told my life is impermanent, and death can happen any time, and nothing can help at the moment of death except your karma. If your karma can decide where you be born, if you have to be born at all. But also at the same time, you can create causes now not to be born in any of those rebirths, but find an alternative way what to do, what would be the main aim of here it is. So from this point of view, from this point in next remaining verses we have, is about how to now seek liberation. completely liberation from samsara. Not just wanting to be higher reborn or born in heaven or some kind of semi-pure realm. And that kind of mentality is people who don't learn more than this. Now, Nagarjuna paint these pictures first, then talk about liberation. Liberate meaning to become free from being born in either of these realms again. And almost decidedly, and that you decide not to be born there, and take whatever hook or crook you have to do, you will endeavor it to become free from that. So that's where we're going to stop tonight. Any comments, questions? Thank you for your attendance. There's a lot of merit in listening to the teachings, and we can think of the other people who have recently passed away and who are lost. I'm told many people lost in the flight or in the sea or somewhere. Just imagine the suffering and worries and agony of everyone that is directly involved, and every one of those people have at least 30 over them people directly connected in their lives. And that's just one we know. And then think of all the others. And then send this merit, send these prayers by listening to these teachings. All this merit we share for them. So with this we do the dedication of merits.